Stand on a street corner in Manhattan in 1926, and you would not recognize the city at all. The air smells of coal smoke and horse manure. The sky is a tangle of telephone wires. And somewhere above you, riveters are hammering a skyscraper into existence, one glowing rivet at a time. This is the New York before the New York you know. And it is about to change forever. 100 years ago, New York City was not yet the city of glass towers and gridlocked avenues. It was something rawer. Something louder. A city caught between two centuries, half horse-drawn cart, half combustion engine, half gaslight, half neon. Nearly 6 million people were crammed onto a narrow island and its surrounding boroughs, more people than lived in most entire countries. And every single one of them was part of an experiment the world had never seen before. Could a city grow this fast, this dense, this loud, without tearing itself apart? Walk down Fifth Avenue in the 1920s and the first thing that hits you is the noise. Streetcars clang past. Model T Fords sputter and backfire. And somewhere underneath it all, the last of the old horse-drawn wagons still creak along, delivering ice, milk, and coal, refusing to disappear just yet. The sidewalks are a river of hats. Every man wears one. Every woman too. Newsboys shout headlines on street corners, their voices competing with the whistle of traffic cops waving their arms like conductors of an orchestra no one asked for. Below the streets, something new is running. The subway, still young, still shocking to older New Yorkers who remember a city with no way to travel underground at all. For a nickel, you could ride from the tip of Manhattan to the edges of the Bronx, faster than any carriage in history. The city was learning to move in a way it never had before, and it would never slow down again. Look up, and you can watch history happening in real time. The skyline you know today, the Empire State Building, the Chrysler Building, none of it exists yet. In their place are construction sites, steel skeletons climbing into the clouds, worked by men with no harnesses, no safety nets, walking across beams 30 stories above the pavement as if it were nothing. These men were called sandhogs and steelworkers, many of them Mohawk ironworkers from Conowick in Quebec, famous for an uncanny fearlessness at extreme heights. They built the city's future one beam at a time, often in freezing wind, for wages that would barely cover a week's rent in the tenements below. When the Chrysler Building's spire was secretly assembled inside the tower and hoisted into place in under 2 hours, it briefly became the tallest structure on Earth. New York had learned to build upward because it had nowhere left to build outward. But turn away from the shining towers, and the city tells a very different story. In the Lower East Side, families of 7 or 8 lived in tenement apartments smaller than a modern living room, with a single window facing a narrow air shaft instead of the sky. Immigrants from Italy, Ireland, Eastern Europe, and China had poured into these blocks by the millions, carrying entire cultures in a single suitcase. The streets doubled as marketplaces. Pushcart vendors sold everything from pickles to shoelaces, their voices rising in a dozen languages at once. Children played stickball between buildings, using manhole covers as bases. It was crowded, it was hard, and for many, it was also the first taste of freedom they had ever known. Not far away, in Harlem, something extraordinary was unfolding. A renaissance, in every sense of the word. Jazz spilled out of clubs late into the night. Poets, painters, and musicians were building a new American art form from scratch, and the world would spend the rest of the century trying to catch up. New York in the 1920s was still, above all else, a port city. The rivers surrounding Manhattan were crowded with ships, tugboats, and ferries, more shipping traffic passing through this harbor than almost anywhere else on the planet. Longshoremen unloaded crates of coffee, silk, and steel from vessels that had crossed entire oceans. Millions of immigrants had first seen America right here, gazing up at a copper statue in the harbor before ever setting foot on solid ground. The waterfront was where the city breathed, where goods came in and dreams came ashore. It was loud, dangerous, and utterly alive. As evening came, the city transformed again. Electric signs, still a novelty to many, began to flicker on in Times Square, then known more for theater than for spectacle. Broadway marquees blazed with the names of vaudeville stars and silent film idols. Speakeasies, hidden behind unmarked doors, filled with the sound of jazz and the low murmur of a city defying prohibition in plain sight. For a few hours each night,
Indeed.
class lines blurred, and everyone from bankers to bootleggers gathered under the same dim lights, drinking illegal liquor and dancing to music the old world would never have allowed. This was a city living two lives at once. One respectable and buttoned up by day. One reckless and electric by night. And yet, for all its noise and grit and inequality, this was the moment the modern city was truly born. The subway lines laid then still carry millions today. The skyscrapers rising then still define the skyline now. The immigrant neighborhoods that struggled to survive became the beating cultural heart of the entire nation. 100 years from now, someone will look back at our own New York the same way we look back at this one. Curious. A little disbelieving. Wondering how anyone lived that way. History never truly disappears. It just gets paved over, one generation at a time. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, consider subscribing for more.